Namaskar viewers, this is Anil Kant Choudhary or AKC. In the series Imitable Success Stories, I'm bringing one new story today. This is related to the challenge of the fear of losing an engagement and how I helped in terms of turning it around. Right? So you will see more detail of the story. Um, in terms of the challenge, the client was one of the leading in the service sector in the industry in which it is among the top 10 from the North America. So a very important client for us. The engagement was little more than 3 year old for us, but it was growing annually at more than 10%. So good revenue generator for us. The scope was quite diversified and the technology wise or even the nature of the work wise. So, .NET, Java, the, the state of the art, the new stuff was there. The support and maintenance, the development, all kind of work we were involved with. Hence, the potential risk which we had is of losing a revenue growth generator, right? Which was every year we were growing by more than 10%, as I said. So, if the contract doesn't get renewed, that creates a big issue because the reason why we were worried, the challenge was that the contract was being renewed every year. So every 9 or 10 months, we were under pressure. What will happen on this, right? So that was the thing. Of course, the fallout would have been a big hole in the revenue, annual revenue target. So that is something which we wanted to avoid completely. And from a measure of relationship, we did have good relationship through the feedback which we are getting it, though it was limited mostly to the IT leaders of a particular country. This client was a global client, but our service was catering to one country, and that too mostly we were engaging with the IT leaders of that client. Okay, so how did I look at it? Again, as I have been telling in the past, I look at getting things done in a simple way, but in a right way, doing the basics right. Okay, what I keep telling is get back to the basic. So if we are able to get back to the basic correctly, we should be able to handle things better. So and I apply a common approach, the 6 point approach, which I have talked about in the past. So here again, I applied all those six, discovering the underlying problem, removing the noise from the sound, looking back on the similar instances, and if there's something common which we can leverage, do that, working jointly with the stakeholders to come up with a solution, and then agreeing to an implementation plan, and finally anticipating that something may go wrong, okay, and identifying a potential workaround if something goes wrong. So here also we applied the same basic approach, and we identified the underlying issues which needs to be addressed. So what we discovered, some top underlying issues where first is we had a weak relationship with the leaders at the headquarter. As I said, with this client being a global and we serving only to a particular country, and that too mostly with the IT leaders. So relationship was limited to IT leaders of that country. With the headquarter leaders, we were not having great relationship. So that is something which was there. The second one, which was from a from engagement perspective, the engagement was more of a staffing need. So client used to come to us, ask for specific skills, and we used to provide member. So that is something which was kind of making it limitations uh, from our end. So the stickiness was not all that great. Uh, the ownership of the service delivery was loosely defined, right? As you can understand, if it is a more of a staffing thing, then client also doesn't want to give all the ownership to you. At the same time, you also don't want to take all the ownership because you have limited control on that. But at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, you're anyway pulled in that why it happened that way. So Ideally, we should have a better control on the ownership, but it was loosely defined in the contract. The members who were engaged, they were working in silos. They were working with client. They were also working with along with the third parties, and they were working hard, no doubt about it. But they were working in silos. So different members in different program, working with their own client and time zone and requirements and all of that. Many of the member who are long term, and when I say long term here, as I said, it was little more than a 3 year old engagement. So some of these member who were in the initial set of member, they were in their comfort zone, right? They had built a good relation with the client at an individual level, and they were happy of the work which they were doing, right? They didn't want to try out something else or take up additional responsibility. So bit of a challenge on that perspective. And from a focus perspective, from a delivery focus perspective, I think it was more on the operational level. How do we make sure that the operational aspect is kind of taken care? The schedule is not missed out, or what customer is asking for, we are able to provide that. uh, it was all very very tactical. There was not too much thinking going beyond operational thing, no strategic thought beyond few months. And that was understandable because, as I said, the contract was getting renewed every year, so there was a fear of it might go to somebody else. So not trying to do too many things beyond that. So those were the underlying limitations which we discovered. Okay, so then we worked with the team, and we also involved client in some cases, and we brought in some changes. The first thing is in terms of the relationship. I mean, as I said, we were engaged mostly with IT leaders in one country. Even though we are not engaging with other countries, we wanted to make sure that our relationship with other locations and other, particularly the headquarter, should improve. Because some of the decisions from the headquarter does impact. So we identified leaders who should connect with the leaders, business leaders, and IT leaders in other countries, including the headquarter. We engaged leaders of other countries as well. I mean, our company has presence in multiple countries. So even though we were serving from India primarily, we also touched upon other countries in which the client has a presence, and the leader of our country in those our leaders in those countries, we requested them to kind of connect with that client and share the work which we are doing with that client in other part of the world. So that we did. We even showcased the depth and breadth of our capability, not only to the country which we're serving, but to other country leaders and even to headquarter. So idea was to broaden the relationship with client. They should understand about us. They should know about us a little better. From our internal perspective, we also looked at how can we change the mindset of waiting for a client to tell us what to do, right? As I said, we were more into a staffing kind of engagement. So client used to tell us, do this work, and once the work is completed, we tend to just wait for next work to come our way, right? So we wanted to change that mindset, not just doing what is said, but trying to find out why it is being done that way, why that work is important, what is the business need behind that, right? Because when we stop thinking on that line, we don't know what is the business imperative for those changes, right? Whatever we are doing. So pushed member to change that mindset. Also pushed member to know about what is being done uh, by other members in the team, right? Because they were working in silos. Sometimes the good work done by one particular team member could inspire others or can give some ideas. So, and they should know anyway about what is happening. So, big mindset change in the team member. Uh, Also pushed members to go beyond the client manager. In some cases, we had end users which we had access to, but somehow we are not engaging with them. We are not even checking with them how they are liking the system, why we are making this change, and all of that. So we pushed members to go beyond the client manager, engage users of the systems, end users of the system. Uh, we requested client to include us in some of the sessions which was beyond the IT, the business discussions, not the secret ones or not the confidential ones, but where things were discussed about the system which we are working on. We requested them to include us, so that we can get a better understanding of business expectations. And based on that, we also started sharing some of the examples of the work which we had done for other clients. Because once you know what customer is facing a challenge, right? What does the business need and all that? You can share some of the good practices, some of the good stories from your organization, so that if they need it, they can engage you. So we improved our connect with the users, and finally we pushed ourselves to move up the value chain. We didn't want to remain as a staffing shop. Staffing is good to open the door, but that's not where we should end up. So uh, we wanted to move away from that model. That's not a regular model we want to be. So we wanted to take charge of the project, not just fill the vacancies in that particular project. So move up the value chain, and to do that, we brought in a lot of accelerators. We pushed ourselves to bringing accelerators, value adds, continuous improvement, all of that, so that we can show the ownership culture of that. So these were the basic changes which we identified to be brought in. Some of them we could, and some of them continue to be work in progress. But it did help, right? So in terms of outcome, we saw the client manager being happier, right? We could see the rework was reduced significantly. The defect in the delivered work was reduced. The new ideas and suggestions were welcomed by the client. They were able to see that positive change. The end user were confident because we are engaging with them. They could see, they could have more trust in the team. End user. That also helped in terms of discussions, positive influence we could bring in, right? We were able to share some ideas. We were able to share our thoughts. So that helped. This increased the value of delivery. The improvement which we brought in, the incremental improvement, we could uh, make those visible, and we submitted a lot of proactive ideas. Started submitting a lot of proactive ideas and value adds, making them visible. Right, so that helped. The long-term contract, I think the first thing which we realized after about a year is that the agreement, a part of the agreement was extended for 2 years, and another part was extended for 3 years. So if not the whole engagement, at least some part of it, we could not have to wait every year for renewal. So that was really positive, and even some part moved to fixed price, so we could make those changes. There were still a lot many things to be done, but we crossed that challenge of every year renewal, working only staffing mode, and always be under the fear that whether this engagement will be there or not. So this is how we turn it around. I hope you like the story. If you have any suggestions, feel free to reach out to me. Or if you need any input from me, or if you have a good success story which you want me to share with the wider audience, please do share with me. My mail ID remains same. Connect with akc@gmail.com. Okay. Thanks. Enjoyed sharing this success story with you. I hope you're enjoying listening them as well and benefiting from them. Thank you. Bye bye.